I'm so honored to be here today. I really feel like, this has just been an amazing day. Like Nicole said, I thought I was going to have to be in and out with things I had to do. But even when I was doing my speaking course, I still had this in my ear because I'm like, I cannot miss a second of it. So, and I've been watching the replays on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked those out, ladies, go. There's gold, gold, gold. Absolutely. So, and just being part of such a diverse group of women is incredible. And actually, I watched on the replay, there was a man who shared one of his stories, and that was incredible too. So it's mostly women, but certainly men have a place at the table here as well. So my story of impossible to I'm possible, which is the theme of this conference, started many years ago. I'll never forget the day when I walked into my chiropractor's office straight from school and plopped my backpack down. Bam! The usually cool Dr. Olo was appalled. He was really a cool guy, but in this moment he was like, what is that? You can't carry that backpack around with you because that's going to do serious damage to your back. And so he promptly wrote me a note to get an extra set of textbooks. And like I said, this cool guy, like he was long hair in his 30s, part of a rock band, like the epitome of cool. And I'm like, what are you doing? I was appalled. Like a note for my teacher. I did not want to hand that in. But of course my mom made me. And of course it did help my back, but that was just one of the things that I was holding on to. It was the only thing that people could see. And yet I was carrying a whole bunch of stuff around with me that nobody else could see. So that year I was in grade 8 and I was the new kid at the school. So it's your last year of elementary school. You're supposed to be top dog. So of course I didn't want to hand in the note. Then everyone would think that I wasn't cool. I already felt like this tiny gnat. So I didn't need any help in the not feeling like I fit in department. Because I just started there in September, I had a lot of proving myself to do in order to fit in. And we know that, like, isn't that what every 13-year-old wants? It certainly is what I wanted. I was super short back then. And no, not much has changed as I'm just 5'2" in my full stature. But so I was used to the short jokes. But my mom also made me wear dresses to school more days than not. And so I got comments about the dresses, the comments about the short. I was so embarrassed. I could handle the shrimp and the shorty because it had been with me my whole life. But they also used to tease me, I don't know if you can see, about my freckles. And that was the worst. Like freckle face, that was one thing. But these kids used to try to connect the dots on my face at recess. It was so degrading. I felt so worthless. And so I carried around that embarrassment and shame and guilt with me for years in my invisible backpack. And I realize now that I'd been carrying it around for many years, even before that. Do you carry around an invisible backpack with you too? If you do, type yes in the chat, because you'll be surprised at how many of us carry around this invisible backpack. You know, it's the kind where you mentally hold on to everything. And mine was way heavier than my school backpack because it was filled with these heavy emotions like shame and guilt and overwhelm. So of course, those weighed me down far more than my textbooks ever had. And I remember in school feeling guilty to as far back as grade 5, and at home, probably until I was 5. So it had been going on for years, for as long as I could remember, really. And it wasn't until, and like I said, I carried it around until, just a few years ago. I was an overachiever, thinking that if I could just achieve more, I'd feel better. So I got the good grades. I had the good friends in school. My dad was proud of me, not my brother. But yet, none of those achievements, none of those things made me feel any better, nor did anyone else telling me that I was beautiful or fantastic. I had to come to believe it myself. So, a number of years ago, I did start to develop a toolbox of techniques, practices, and strategies that served me well because I had been diagnosed with a depressive disorder. So, I knew I had to get my life together, not use a bad word. I swear like a trucker, but not today, not today. Even still, I had all these tools and strategies, but I was still caught on that hamster wheel of life. Also, type, oh, yeah, if you feel like you know what that caught on the hamster wheel of life was. I was a divorced mom with 3 kids. 2 of them were in hockey, 1 in rep hockey. And in order to pay for all of that, I had to work 3 jobs. So, between the 3 jobs and the driving the kids to hockey, staying at the hockey games, like, I just didn't have a second to slow down and to breathe. But I thought I had it all together. And I remember people, I knew I was going to go into, like at the end of 2019, I decided I'm going to follow my life stream to become a speaker. And I am going to speak about life balance because I know how to balance everything. So I can speak to people about this. Absolutely. Yeah. People would ask me, how do I do it? And I always said, I just keep going. As long as I don't stop, I'm okay. Now, when I think about her, that person, that me, I want to cry because, she had no idea that she was in burnout mode. No idea. And it was just that overwhelm was a huge boulder in my backpack then. I'm going to actually stop my background because as much as I love it, I really want to sit in front of this painting that's in my living room, but I couldn't trust that my kids would, necessarily be quiet the whole time. And they're great kids, but it's like when you're on the phone, something comes up, right? So the virtual background, you can't even see my arms. So I'm going to quit that for a second. Stay with me, my friends. There we go. Okay, so now you'll get to see all my gestures, all the true me, because who else said they talk with their hands a lot? That's me too. So finally, during COVID, I had that extra time to reevaluate my life and reprioritize what was important to me, just like lots of us did. I learned to put myself first. And then it was not only okay, but good to say no to sometimes. Bye-bye overwhelm. And that was the start. I, little by little, finally learned the importance of slowing down and being still. And once I did that, I was able to tune into my inner voice. And, we've had so many women talk about that today and the power of meditation. And it's so true. So once I did that, all of a sudden, I finally got meditation. And believe me, I'd been trying for like years before with no success. So once I did take that time to be still, I realized how valuable I am. I realized that I'm possible. That's right. I'm possible. And once I truly valued all of myself, I couldn't continue to hurt myself the way I had been by carrying around all that extra crap. Started to take out all of those boulders. I did it by forgiving myself for things I would forgive other people for. Bye-bye guilt. I practiced compassion for myself. Bye-bye shame. Eventually, all the rocks were gone, but my backpack wasn't empty. Because remember, our backpack contains all the things we mentally hold on to. So in there, I still had love, I still had joy, and now I had to fit a much bigger love in there, self-love. For me, self-love is tuning into yourself and giving yourself whatever you need in any moment. And so the meditating, the reevaluating, the forgiveness, the compassion, those were all great acts of self-love. Putting myself first, self-love. So now What fills my backpack? Love for others, joy, and self-love. They are huge in my backpack, but they're light, like a helium balloon. They're uplifting, in fact. And the coolest thing is that now there's no more room in my backpack for those big boulders. Of course, guilt, shame, and overwhelm, depression, anxiety, they still rear their ugly heads sometimes. But now there's no more room for them as boulders. There's only room for them as pebbles. And as a teacher, I'm a full-time teacher, I see so many kids carrying around those heavy backpacks with them all the time that nobody else can see. Certainly, nobody else knows what's in them unless they decide to share it. I see adults, women and men, also carrying around these so heavy, invisible backpacks. I wonder if I'm able to see them because I remember how heavy mine was. But it's not only that I see it. I mean, we've heard about it again today in lots of different ways, but the studies show it. The last census in the States showed that 1 in 4 people will be diagnosed with a depressive disorder in their lifetime. And that's just people that are diagnosed, and that was pre-COVID. So we can only imagine, we all know that mental health has become a more serious problem in this last year. So we can only imagine how much worse it is now. The other thing is that the more I learn about the inner child and our childhood trauma, again spoken about today, the more I think that most of us have been carrying around those same backpacks since we were young. And I can see that from your comments in the chat too. And all of that, those backpacks, they're the reason why I do what I do now. Helping people realize how to put down their heavy boulders and reload their backpack with the helium balloons, it's my life's passion and purpose. As Maria said, I started Trinity Transformations to help the anxious overachiever, AKA the old me, the recovering overachiever, I call myself, and recovering perfectionist, to release the shame and guilt they've been hanging on to realign their priorities and reclaim their best life, to go from just surviving to thriving. And I do it through my 3 pillars of self-love, joy, and gratitude. So if you're carrying a heavy backpack of your own, I encourage you to unload that backpack and do a little reorganizing. I'll always be grateful to Dr. Olo for saving my back, but the gratitude for saving me, it goes to me. We decide what fills our backpack. What will you fill your backpack with? And as Maria said, if you want a little help with it and you're not sure where to go, I am going to have a more in-depth workshop to share some of the strategies and tools that I've used with myself and with my clients as well. So I encourage you to check that out. And you can also, of course, I know she put my contact info in there too. So reach out to me. It's not just a 15-minute, like one and done, forget it, you can't reach me anymore. I'm here. I say this all the time in every IG thing I do. We're all in this together. It's really how I live my life and what I believe. So thank you again, Maria, for having me today. Thank you to Gertrude for believing in me and my message and saying yes.